Hey everybody, XEI for another Let's Watch trailers. I'm excited about this one. It's for Pathfinder Kingmaker. I got the feature trailer, the Kickstarter video, the launch trailer, some of the DLCs. I don't think I have all of them, but anyways, I picked them based on chronology from the developers' YouTube channel, Owlcat Games, and the publisher's YouTube channel, Deep Silver. So a little bit of history with Pathfinder. I was following Paizo Publishing. Oh, early on. I love them as a designer. This is weird. It's weird to kind of talk because like who loves designing publishers who are designers who are design anyway, I love their design. They were actually hired by Wizards of the Coast to do the Dungeon Magazine and Dragon Magazine back when this is going to be nerdy. The back of the day when TSR was filing for bankruptcy in the late 90s. Wizards of the Coast, the company that owns Magic the Gathering, they picked up the company. I believe it was 98 is when they started processing. 99 is when it went through. I don't know, maybe something like that. The dates are a little bit sketchy at this point. Paizo Publishing basically took over Dungeon Magazine and Dragon Magazine. I was subscribed to Dungeon Magazine. I loved reading them. I picked up a couple dungeons, but I love their design. The thing that won me over with Paizo, and this is where it gets nerdy, because who like follows a company because they're a designer, publisher, that it's just everything about their craft was. It was so good. It was just so good compared to like the prior. Not that it was bad, but it was just more. I don't know. No, I hate to say this word. It's sort of but boring. It was a Dungeon Magazine, a Dragon Magazine were sort of boring layouts. D&D books were generally boring layouts. They were decent. I mean, Planescape was amazing, but it was amazing because it wasn't boring. It was, anyways. I'm getting too nerdy. So the point is with Paizo Publishing is that I'm following them because of these magazines, and I'm literally only like at this point I'm not even playing Dungeons and Dragons anymore, but I'm buying the magazines because I love the designer and the publisher. Anyways, so then what happens is Dungeons and Dragons wants to go full digital. Paizo gets cut off, and this is somewhere in the early 2000s. And then Paizo Publishing creates Pathfinder, which was, for all intents and purposes, Dungeons and Dragons 3.75. So because Dungeons and Dragons was version 3, it was then version 3.5 a few years later, because they tweaked the system because other games got developed and they just made better mechanics, leaner and stuff like that. But then Paizo, they take all of that because it's part of this thing called an open gaming license, where you could use a system reference document. This is really nerdy. No one cares. Point is, you can make the games based on Dungeons and Dragons mechanics because the Wizards was awesome enough to kind of open that up into the market. But then the market got flooded, it got saturated, and then there was sort of a collapse of version 3.0, 3.5, and Paizo 3.75 was kind of this like, no, we're not going to let it collapse. We're going to keep this system going. And then they kind of quadrupled down. Like their system was so robust. It's like, if you want rules, we'll give you all these rules. And they did that for like over a decade. Like they're only talking about Pathfinder 2 now. I'm already a few minutes in. I don't know if this is interesting, but the point is, I've been following all of this for decades, and because they were on Dungeon and Dragon Magazine when they sort of got cut loose and they launched the Pathfinder label, and they were going to print, they were going to publish their own games. They published this thing called the Adventure Paths, and really high quality games. It was like six adventures per adventure path, and they were almost monthly. They weren't quite. They were kind of figuring out how to like the whole mailing thing and stuff like that. But anyways, it's I kept buying them because I loved it, and then I actually got back into playing that system, and I ran a Pathfinder game for a few years. We got through the first three adventure paths, so Rise of the Rune Lords, Curse of the Crimson Thrones, Second Darkness. I was reading Legacy of Fire, which was kind of this Arabian Nights sort of influence thing. Oh, that one was going to be it was probably be good. And then with Council of Thieves, I started reading because I was going to do a second adventure with these online folks, but then that didn't happen. And then Kingmaker was the sixth adventure path. So I was kind of intrigued to see Kingmaker Pathfinder, like the game, like it being converted into a game, because I'm like, I luckily stopped right at that point, so I know nothing about it, which makes me want to play the game now before reading the adventure path and spoiling myself. I do own I own 12 adventure paths. I'm at issue 72 or something like that. I've looked through them because I love their designs. I love the way they laid out mechanics. So nerdy, such nerdy things, but they were inspiring me. Like I wanted to get into that for real. Like I was going in hard with like being sort of getting. Anyways, I don't want to go too deep into that rabbit hole, but I wanted to get into game development and stuff like that for tabletop. Okay, so let's watch some trailers. I know this thing got launched as a Kickstarter. We're not going to watch that one first because this feature trailer came before the Kickstarter, at least based on the chronology online. So let's watch the Kingmaker feature trailer and see what this is all about, and then we'll go from there.
A new RPG saga inspired by genre classics like Baldur's Gate.
Those are all...
In the world of Galarion, there is a no man's land.
Oh, it's such a great setting. Guys,
for millennia, kingdoms rose and fell there, not realizing that they were just pawns on someone else's chessboard. Now the final pieces are on the board, and the grand scheme is almost complete. Will anyone dare to challenge destiny? The Stolen Lands are waiting for a true leader. They are waiting for you to claim what is rightfully yours. Fight, explore, and rule your way. The enormous Pathfinder universe is at your disposal. Find your path among 14 classes, dozens of archetypes, more than 1,000 spells and abilities, to give you the power to overcome one of the greatest challenges Galarion has ever faced. Even the bravest adventurer needs friends to watch their back. Meet more than 10 companions with rich, evolving stories to share your sense of adventure, your passion to rule, and even your love. Change the Stolen Lands forever. Claim territory ruled by bandits and monsters. Build your very own kingdom. Rule by law or chaos. Earn the adoration of your subjects or rule them with fear. Face unspeakable danger. Slay your enemies. Become king. The Stolen Lands shall be yours.
Loud, by the way. I forgot to set down. I forgot to put down the setting. Here, let's fix this now so I can actually talk a little bit over the trailers. I don't need to be completely focused. I'm kind of getting it. But yeah, so that's interesting. Like, it really felt Pathfinder-y. I'll give it that. Yeah, what I was going to say about the setting is they take some unique approaches to their storytelling, to the way they develop, like the arcs. It's like it's traditional fantasy, but it's not. Like, there's some Lovecraftian influence, there's some sci-fi influence, there's... they have such a unique approach to it, but it all still feels cohesive. Oh, I love Pathfinder so much. Okay, so let's do the Kickstarter video. And I've reduced the sound here a little bit. Sorry about that, guys. So... you can obviously their influence, though. Where the influence
brand new RPG set in the world of Pathfinder,
early BioWare.
Inspired by genre classics like Baldur's Gate, you'll adventure in a rich world filled with
I like this trailer better.
With a rich story shaped by RPG veteran Chris Avalon.
Wayne Reynolds,
Pathfinder
the artist.
Kingmaker
so
takes
good.
you on a journey north to the Stolen Lands.
Cover artist.
You won't be alone. Accompanying you are familiar faces from the Pathfinder
right
universe.
So I got an original piece for everyone who is still
each with their own
affordable
agendas and motivations influenced by your actions.
Strangely enough, which influenced Tom McCabe. Anyways.
Play style, selecting skills, weapons, and abilities from hundreds of options. Make the hero you desire or the villain others fear. Decide who stands beside you and who turns away. Build a kingdom, defend it.
This is a Kickstarter video? Damn. I don't even know how much they made, but...
whether you are a benevolent ruler or a ruthless tyrant. Make your stand against monsters, beasts, and rival kingdoms in a conflict that threatens not just the Stolen Lands, but the world itself. Can you and your kingdom survive?
It was always epic.
You would always... others have failed.
I'll talk about that in a second. Oh, man. Yeah. I can't recommend Paizo and Pathfinder enough. Adventure paths, if you've never played an adventure path, you don't have a group who's ever played find a group, play an adventure path. And the thing is like, you really have to commit to an adventure path. Like, we would go, our adventure paths would last months, if not a year. Like, you would go from level 1 and you'd feel it. You'd feel the whole, like, the growth of the, like, the hero's journey, the real, like, you were kind of like a nobody finding your place, and then, you take, and then every book that finishes, you feel a little bit more confident and powerful, and then you get to the end and it's just it's not so much that you're wrecking things, because things are all equally wrecking you, but you feel so deeply invested in the world as a character. We would have these continuities, so by the time you got to the third arc, like, we would always do new generations, and then the continuity would persist, you know. So the characters who kind of retire at the end of the sixth book of the one adventure path, they would be kind of legendary heroes that people would hear about. And it was, guys, do it. Find a group, play it. Okay, now we're going to be watching, let's see, this one's called Tavern Party Trailer. This is from the Deep Silver channel, so I don't know what this means, but it looked neat.
Peggy 16.
More like cutouty kind of things is how I don't know what this is for, if this is a DLC or what, but it looked more
Octavia,
cartoony.
Your turn.
Oh.
I need a breathtaking, heart-boggling, mind-wrenching story for a new chapter of my book.
You know, I keep thinking about that strange troll. He kept swearing he stopped eating people and started reading books. Maybe we should have let him finish talking.
No. Poor troll.
No one cares for Chinwag. And talking to a freaking troll, the only good troll is a dead one!
The troll would have died eventually, as will all of us. Everything is dust,
That's
and
good.
to dust it shall return.
Oh my god, even the spell effects are rocking, man.
Might just bore you to death someday. Then again, I somewhat agree with you, old grumbler. It sure was fun to turn all those scoundrels who challenged us to dust.
It takes me back, man. Baldur's Gate for sure. Icewind Dale, Neverwinter. Damn.
Too much dust for my taste, boys. Do you remember how we almost drowned Jubilost? Trying to save the cart stuffed with his precious books?
Save the cart, Rattlebrain!
We should have given the books to the poor kobolds. That way at least someone would have read them.
Kobolds are fun
If it
too.
weren't for
But the goblins are
my
great.
ingenious almanac, the world would have never known how a handful of rundown shacks turned into this adequate barony.
I wonder how open it is. They were talking about the whole relationship thing too, which seems interesting.
And why is our Baron so quiet today?
Well,
Yes.
ready your pen, Lindsay. We're about to create a damn fine
The goblin
new
is one of the
story.
is one of the. Oh yeah, that's neat. Oh, I'll play. So this is what special edition. Okay, so this was just a little bit of a fun thing. Okay, then we have the launch trailer, legitimate. This thing is a couple months old, so I think this game just came out, right? Like recently.
Peggy 16.
I can't. I don't have the time to be just picking these things up. But then if I were to go like, what's the other one? Divinity. Like there's all those other options, right? But then Pathfinder. Everything else. Pathfinder. Are you kidding me? Everything would be under Pathfinder. They had an interesting, like, the way that the religions work. And it's like there was like plant. It's weird. It was like a very cool mix of sci-fi and fantasy, but you use a subtle sci-fi. But the influences were there. Even when they did horror, their horror was reminiscent of old days, like Ravenloft horror, and like you could tell because they were grabbing, like, the cool thing with the Pathfinder adventure paths is that these were the people who were like running Paizo. They were in the industry for like a long time prior. Like they were embedded inside the D&D kind of engine thing, and so because they were editors and stuff like that, they knew all the main writers, all the main kind of architects of D&D stuff, right? So they would just grab all these like really good writers and stuff, really high profile names, to lead design the adventure paths. And so they would, and then you could it was awesome because I'd even read like the first page that would talk about like the people they would bring on, and it would talk about their history, and right away you'd read like kind of adventures that they released in the past, and you're like, oh, this is going to be, I've read a lot of things, even if I didn't run them, but you could tell the voice, you could tell the kind of spirit that was going to be in that adventure path right away, because certain, people had different strength, different creators had different strengths.
Peggy 16.
Oh, that was always the exciting part for me too, is finding the name, seeing the name on the book. So this is the DLC, Bloody Mess. Character creatures will now soak the blood. Okay, so why would that be a yes? Sounds like a weird DLC. Blood stains can be removed after healing. Just make things bloodier. Was this a Kickstarter goal that they didn't think they would pull off, but if they did, it would just be something they'd give back, or what? And I hope that doesn't cost a lot. It seems a little bit weird. All right, and then we have Arcane Unleashed. This is also a DLC trailer. Oh my god, they were so robust. Man, if you had like a mage character, or man, the worst was like when you had like multiple mages that you had to run as a GM. Oh, hours. The battles will take hours. Oh, familiar? Oh, okay, well, that's cute. There is such a thing. No, there isn't, but there really is. When it's put up against how much time you have to invest to learn and understand and know how to like dynamically use that magic, there is too much magic. There is a limit. Okay, so that was fun. Of course I would play this. I don't know when it would happen, but I'm excited. I'm excited about it just because I wouldn't mind getting back into the world. If I were to run something, I'd probably go back to Pathfinder. I'm kind of like, that's what makes me excited about Pathfinder 2.0. I don't know what they're going to do with the game to change things up, because they've got, again, it's like 15 years of published content that's all the same engine that just built on top. Oh my god. For them to change that, I don't know. They were also very smart in the way they designed things, because they would always make things reverse compatible and stuff like that, like compatible with all the open source stuff. Not that the content was open source, but other open source game rules that got put into the market, because they were leveraging the open gaming license and stuff like that, which part of the agreement is that you put your rules onto the market as well, and then other people can use them, and then they can make other blah, 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 blah. They carved out their own piece of the gaming landscape, and Kingmaker seems sort of appropriate, because I feel like I think to me anyways, they definitely scaled past Dungeons and Dragons in terms of what I haven't followed Dungeons and Dragons for 15 years, but Pathfinder, absolutely. Like, they won. They became kings in that space. So yeah, I'm looking forward to giving this thing a shot. I don't know, maybe a year and a half from now. I don't know, we'll see where this game is at by then. Man, if this thing has modding capabilities, like people can add to it like they were in Neverwinter Nights and stuff like that. Oh damn. So I mean, this stuff excited me, but it didn't touch on all the things that made Pathfinder super special for me with those early adventure paths, like some of the really crazy ideas that they had and the way that they mashed them in with fantasy. I didn't really get that from here. This still felt like very traditional fantasy. This is like, you're going back to you like Baldur's Gate? You liked it? You like Icewind Dale? Okay, here you go. Here's 20 years later. Here's a game for you. Let's for you to kind of reminisce and relive that past enjoyment. But it didn't really speak to what the Pathfinder world was all about. So I don't know. Maybe they kind of, they're playing it safe, right? They're trying to increase their audience capture there, but yeah, so I would like to play the game though, because I would like to go back to the world and see what it's all about. I also, the board game, by the way, the card based board game thing, I highly recommend that one. That's really fun, and a single player too, so you can have a lot of fun with the card game as well. I'm contemplating maybe considering that as well. I believe the rules they support it really well too. So yeah, if it hasn't been clear, I love this brand. So I would love to play this game. I'm going to wrap this one up here, though. I'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget to explore, engage, and inspire, buddy. Peace.